You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Ethiopia has taken the first legal step on the path that could one day enable this landlocked country to use the Red Sea port of Berbera.
Landlocked Ethiopia signed an initial agreement with Somalia's breakaway region of Somaliland to use its Red Sea port of Berbera. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Somaliland President Muse Bihi Abdi signed the Memorandum of Understanding in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa. President Bihi Abdi said as part of the agreement, Ethiopia would be the first country to recognize Somaliland as an independent nation in due course.
We are very happy and we thank the Ethiopian Prime Minister as we signed the agreement here. We allow them 12.4 miles of our sea and they will also recognize us as an independent state. They will become the first state to recognize Somaliland after the signing of this MOU.
Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, said the agreement paves the way to allow Ethiopia to have commercial marine operations in the region by giving it access to a leased military base on the Red Sea.
This will be the starting point of our cooperation with the brotherly people of Somaliland to grow and develop together in cooperation and to ensure our common security. As we have repeatedly stated previously, we do not wish to use force on anyone, rather we will use what we have cooperatively. This is the good news we bring to the people of Ethiopia, Somaliland, and all the peace and development-loving people on this first day of the new year.
Somaliland would also receive a stake in state-owned Ethiopian Airlines. Somaliland has not gained widespread international recognition despite declaring autonomy from Somalia in 1991. Somalia says Somaliland is part of its territory.
And now Leon Senyanje joins us from Kampala with more on this story. Leon, how much access will Ethiopia have to the sea with this deal?
Well, firstly, it's very important to understand the genesis of what Ethiopia's challenge has been. And this stems from a crisis that started in 1993 with its border neighbor Eritrea, and that, of course, cut off Ethiopia had access to the Red Sea. And this indeed has been a decades-long challenge, with Ethiopia accessing much of the sea through Djibouti. Now, the Somaliland Pact, or Memorandum of Understanding, offers Ethiopia a great deal of access to the Red Sea. They are in, of course, through the port of Berbera, and
can you hear me, Leon?
Gold, oily seeds therein.
Right, we are having a little difficulty getting your audio, Leon, but we'll try and re-establish that contact with you and come back for more this interesting story, development of Ethiopia and Somaliland. Now let's move on to our next story. In the United States, hundreds of migrants from Texas, they arrived in Illinois on the first day of the new year. This is along the Texas state policy of relocating asylum seekers to communities run by Democrats. A total of 355 migrants arrived in a Boeing 737 and a Boeing 777 at the Chicago Rockford International Airport on Monday. And Monday's flight is an apparent response to a Chicago city ordinance that fines bus companies who drop off migrants without notice. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson asked for more support from the federal government due to the heavy influx of migrants.
I've stood up 27 shelters. We are housing currently nearly 15,000 asylum seekers, providing mental care, health care, educating 4,500 students, while also creating a pathway to sustainability. But we cannot do this alone. We need more support from the federal government.
Now let's return back to Leon Sayanje, who's joining us from Kampala in Uganda. He's been telling us, Leon, so you were telling us a little bit about Ethiopia being landlocked and why this means such a lot for them.
It's important to understand the genesis of what this economic crisis has been for Ethiopia, and it's taken a span of about 3 decades therein from the conflict that Ethiopia had with the breakaway of Eritrea in 1993. That, of course, constrained Ethiopia's access to the Red Sea. Much of the goods and trade has been going through the Djibouti port. Now, the opening up of the Somaliland or port of Berbera is giving Ethiopia great access to the Red Sea and much easier access to Europe. Of course, the narrow strip of water of the Red Sea provides access to the Arabian Peninsula, and then of course the Suez Canal, and opens up much of the markets with potential for Ethiopia to send coffee, gold, oily seeds, which are the top commodities for Ethiopia therein, to the markets that it can actually access. So it's indeed a historic achievement, like it has been described, and one that many Ethiopian traders, or even still the government itself, will want to make the most of.
But does Somalia have any issues with this deal? After all, Somaliland is still recognized by most of the world as part of Somalia.
Well, the latest that we've been able to gather is that the Somali government will converge a meeting within the next few days to discuss this particular matter. The Somali government still believes that Somaliland is not entirely independent discussions, or the possibility of resumption of discussions on the political challenges that the two entities are having. So yes, it still remains a big matter on the table, a huge concern for Somalia main, and trying to deal with the relations it has with Ethiopia and Somaliland.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Leon Sayanje, for joining us from Kampala with that update.